Hi guys, welcome back to another exciting and inspiring episode of the Inspired Life Vancouver. I'm your host Zara Durrani. Every week I am so excited to bring you amazing guests who are making a positive impact on their communities and doing incredible things. Each conversation leaves me feeling completely inspired. Joining me right now, I'm so grateful to have you as a guest. Again, I interviewed Jay like about 10 years ago. He is World Cup winner. He's played over 300 soccer matches, and he is the founder of Rise and Shine Foundation. He's doing incredible work, a lot of philanthropy work, and he's also a TED Talk speaker. Welcome. Thank you so much, Jay Demerit.
Well, it's a pleasure to be here, and thank you for inspiring others, and appreciate all of the things that you're doing.
My pleasure, and you're truly inspiring. And when I saw you a couple of months ago, I was like, when we get the show, Jay has got to be the
You
number.
did say that.
Yeah,
You
I
did
was
say
like,
that.
Jay, I'm working on a show where we're about to get approved, and once we get approved, I gotta, lock this interview down. I met you like back in the day over 10 years ago, and it was during a shoot that we met, and then from that moment on, I've sort of followed your journey. I watched like your documentaries, your TED Talks, and like your story of, you were born in Wisconsin, now you're living in Vancouver, but traveling around the world. With everyone who comes on the show, I love to hear about how they got started. Of course, I know from all the interviews and documentaries about you that I've seen online, but I would love to share that with our viewers.
Yeah, well, I mean, I grew up in Green Bay, Wisconsin, with a cornfield across the street from my house. So I grew up very blue collar. In Green Bay, we have a big sports team, though. The Green Bay Packers is there. So I grew up as a fanatical Green Bay Packers fan. In a way, I think that it kind of prepared me for my future, but it was also because it's such a community club. It allowed me, as I got to become a professional later, I think it really helped. So I think growing up in a sports town really kind of helped pave a road for maybe what I was in for. But both my parents were teachers too, and so I grew up as a son of two gym teachers, and so I grew up in the gyms. I grew up with tug of war, ropes in my garage.
I
from my
heard you were
parents.
playing like multiple sports,
Stuff
like
like that.
basketball and
Yeah, and so I played three sports until I was 18.
Okay.
And most, and I especially nowadays, I think the traditional multi-sport athlete is kind of not a thing of the past, which again I have problems with, and we'll probably get back to that later when we talk about youth development and kind of what we're doing now. But I think for me, it was something that I loved about my upbringing. I played basketball in the winters. I ran track in the spring. My dad was a track coach, and so was my grandma. So I grew up around the tracks a lot, and just being a little kid with my dad's teams, like older high school kids and stuff. And so those are the fond memories I think of when I think about sports and how I kind of got into them and why I love them so much. And I think because not only was I around them, but I think when you're in those environments, it's just there's a competitiveness, there's an edge to it. And I think when you grow up in those environments, it's something that places you end up being most comfortable. And I think for me, that was that. And then as I get to go out of high school, it's like, okay, I'm weighing up a couple options. I didn't have many scholarship opportunities. I had one D1 scholarship offer to stay in my hometown in UW Green Bay, be kind of a big fish in a small pond. Yes, I could play D1 soccer in the NCAA, but I kind of wanted to get out of town. There was something within inside of me that wanted me to get out.
you wanted to see what was out there other than, being in
Green Bay, Wisconsin. And
Yeah.
again, that's not a disrespect to Green Bay, Wisconsin. I absolutely value that place so much, and it made me who I am, and I'm so appreciative of Green Bay. But I was like, I want to go to a bigger city. I want to see what else is out there. And so my high school coach, he was a great coach, older guy. He used to be the coach at the university in Green Bay. So he had a lot of connections within that conference. And so he called the guy in Chicago, and just on trust alone. And again, you'll notice a lot of these types of stories. You have to trust in people, and people will trust in you. And I played with him for 3 years. Again, he was retired and just wanted to coach his local high school team. But he was like a 65-year-old Italian, very like grandfather figure to a lot of us young players.
Did you have a feeling that this is something you're going, like sports, like this is going to be something you're going to have a career in, or you just wanted to see how far you could take it?
Yeah, I think at that time I was more of a vehicle than it was like a super end goal, like I'm going to be like a famous soccer player kind of idea. It was more like I have the opportunity to get my school paid for and get out of my town and go try something else and kind of live in that world. And thankfully the design school in Chicago was there too.
Which I found so fascinating. I was like,
Yeah.
you study design, that's
Yeah, and
Totally
again, that
different.
also doesn't happen often, which
Yeah.
again I find sometimes confusing because design is such a wide range thing. Like I don't know why athletes think they can't be creative. And I think but essentially what happened was my coach called the UIC coach in Chicago, University of Illinois Chicago, and he said, "Hey, I got this kid up here. He doesn't want to go to UW Green Bay, but I can vouch for him. He's good enough. Do you have any money left?" And he goes, "I got $2,000 left." And so he offered me a $2,000 scholarship, which again wasn't much at the time, but it was like, okay, I got my name on that paper. Let's go give it a shot. So I took it and I went to Chicago. Again, thankfully they had the design degree that I was looking for, and so industrial design is the degree that I ended up going to school for. But the story goes is I got to college and I was a goal scorer. I went to got college recruited out of scoring goals, and I get to college first preseason tournament, and we get an injury and a red card to the defender. So that's the back of the field. And so we don't have any guys left. And so my coach is like, "Jay, like we don't know what we're going to do with you yet. We are going to redshirt you," which means they take that first year eligibility because they don't really know where they want me to play. But he's like, "Have you ever played defender before?" And I'm like, "No, but I want to play, and I do like everyone says like say yes, like this is like my first real opportunity in my life of crossroads is like to say yes." And I was like, "Okay, if that's what you think, if you think that I can do that, I should trust in you. Like I'm 19 years old, 18 years old. Like what do I know?" Again, and I had to be kind of humble in my approach. I was already sitting on the bench. You know what I mean? I'm like, okay, if you think that I got that shot, I'll take it. And so I played those 3 games for the rest of that tournament. We ended up winning the tournament, and I learned in 3 games that I'd been playing out of position for 19 years. And sometimes it's that quick. And so I realized, just in that small amount of time that I've been at the wrong side of the field. That felt way more comfortable than I ever felt at the other side. And then I became a good player. And by the end of my college career, I was honorable mention All-American, so I would have been one of the top 100 players in the country. But just like anything, the draft isn't easy to get to.
That's amazing. And then when I was checking out some of your videos online on YouTube and checking out, on Google, and I'm like, okay, I want to see like what comes up and stuff. But I loved reading the comments. I always like to see like what people are saying, like what the fans are saying, and everyone's like, "Amazing guy, crazy defender, he's so cool, so inspiring." Because I think there's some interviews from like when you're really young or like you were still in like London. So how did the shift happen to go from the US to the UK?
Well, I was finishing up my kind of college age, so I was 22, 23, and again, I didn't get drafted.
Yeah.
MLS took a look at me. I would have been on a scout sheet, but I would have definitely been on the bottom of that list. There's a lot of players in front of me. There's amazing universities in America that have much better soccer programs and bigger soccer programs. So I knew I was, on a long list. And so I didn't really take it personally when I didn't get drafted. I think that's one of the things that really helped me is that I kind of expected that more than as much as you wish that it happens because it's easier that way. It's a lot of times there's a lot more players that don't get picked than there are that do get picked. And so I think I kind of kept that mindset and said, you know what, I got to look at other opportunities. I had very limited in the States, and then my friend Kieran was he was Irish UK, and he was moving back to London to live with his mom. And I played with him in the summer in Chicago, and he says, "Why don't you come live with us in England?" And so I decided to pack up my bags. I finished school, got my degree, which was like 4 months later, and then I moved with like a backpack and a pair of cleats.
And how old are you then?
I just turned 23.
Wow. And this is like, I think in your TED Talk where you talk about living in this house and you guys are living in the attic and you climb up a ladder to
there was
get
5
there.
of us, 5 of us living in a, 6 of us living in a 3-bedroom house. Kieran and I had the attic, so I'd crawl through like this hole into the mattress that we rolled up and put it in there, and I had one dresser drawer, and again it was all I needed, and again they were so gracious for me to be able to stay there. They were already packed, and they welcomed me in and gave me what I needed to kind of give my dream a real kick to the can, and it started to work. Again it was, but I knew it wasn't going to take a day.
Yeah.
I knew what I was in for. Why would I go from a place I can't even get drafted to the biggest soccer jungle on the planet. Like England is the biggest soccer jungle on the planet.
It's their religion.
Yeah, there's 96 professional teams in the size of one half of one U.S. state, all on relegation promotion. So the top teams come down or go up, and the bottom teams go down a league every year. So every year it's different, and it's all in the size of like literally you go 10 minutes, and there's a whole nother 42,000 seat stadium, and they all speak different, and they all fight each other in the streets, and it's like.
And their fans are like, I feel like football or footy, like as my friends there call it, is like in, in Southeast Asia, in Pakistan, India, Sri Lanka, that area, like how cricket is. Like when there's an important match, the streets are empty. There's no one outside. When it's like Manchester United or Liverpool or like, those, or even in Paris, because I was in Paris for the last, not the recent World Cup, the one before COVID. It's just bananas. You talk about getting this eye surgery before a very important match. I listened in one of your talks. That sounded so scary.
Yeah, it was the craziest thing. I've done a lot of crazy things in my life, but yeah, it was. So once I had made it pro and we get to Watford, I start being in more of a leadership role, and with that came an opportunity to play for my national team. And so, most times in club you have to play well for your club before your national team takes focus, and then they ask you to come for some teams. So I finally got my call up at 27. I was late to all the things. I didn't turn pro till I was 23, 24, and I didn't get a national team call till I was 27. But anyway, so I sit on the bench just like any team you come into. It's very, you don't expect to start right away. You got to earn your stripes in this sport. Again, like we were talking, it's the world's game, and it's the most competitive sport on the planet. And so you got to earn the right. You know what I mean? And so it took me a lot of years to do that. But again, thankfully, I knew that feeling. So when I got to Watford, I knew what that felt like. I could sit on the bench and be comfortable there and earn my right, and then not give it up once I got it. And so that mindset never changed. Whether I got to the national team, I did the same thing. So I was sat on the bench for a year and a half and learned a lot and got up to that level and understood what it was like to travel and play and all the things that come along with the hardships of playing for your national team too. And finally, after 2 years, I get my first starts with the first team, and it's a Confederations Cup in 2009 in South Africa, and the World Cup was in 2010. And so we go there. It's a warm-up tournament basically from the 9 nations of world soccer that win their regional championships. And so it's basically they do it as a host for the country that is about to host the World Cup. And so it's like a dry run, but it's a 9-team tournament. It's not very long, but it's just the 9 regions because soccer's built in 9 regions, and each of them has a regional champion. And so that's how you qualify for World Cups. And so the idea was, as the 9 teams come in, we get invited, and my friend who played in front of me, he got injured just before that game. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to get my first 3 starts. And my first 3 starts were Brazil, Italy, and Egypt. And so I kind of had to hit the ground running. But it worked. It worked, and we ended up getting to the final. We snapped Spain's win streak. They hadn't been beaten in 4 years in 2009, and so we beat them 2-0 to get to the final. Ended up losing to Brazil 3-2 in the final, but that's was my first 5 starts for the national team, and so that was kind of like, well, who would moving into the World Cup, all of a sudden I wear contacts and I get a piece of dirt under my contact. It kind of scratches me. So we go to an away game, and the doctor says, "Oh yeah, you got a little scratch in your cornea. You should be fine." We had a game that night, and this was a long-winded story for the eye setup.
Yeah.
But essentially, what happened was, I go to the hotel and I wake up and it's a bit angry, my eye, and so I hit the eye drops, but by the time I go to the stadium, my floodlights, the eye doctor's like, if you can play, but I was like, I couldn't play because my head was like starting to pound, and I was trying to like judge air balls and head balls and things like that, and I couldn't do it. So I was like, I'm not going to do that for 90 minutes. It's not good. I'm like, coach, I'm out for this one. So I go back to the bench, and by the time I'm like, game's over, my head is in bits, and then by the time we get back to London, like 3 hours later, my whole eye is swollen shut.
Wow.
And my left one's starting to go too. And I'm like, something's up. So I go to my friend's house because I couldn't drive. And I pry my eye open, and my eye had turned green.
Oh my goodness.
My eyeball was filled with pus. So like the pupil, which is just a hole in your eye. It's not actually a dot or anything. It's a hole that gets bigger and smaller depending on how much light you want to enter into your eye. And so I was like, basically my eye had filled with pus, so it was white. And so I rushed to the hospital. They're like, whoa, this is very serious. You got a really bad infection. It's like one of the level staff that's high. They're like, you have to take this eye drop on the hour every hour for 36 hours. So I set this recurring alarm, like my eyes swollen shut, and I'm like, every hour on the hour. He's like, but the only thing is, like, when it kills the tissue, when it kills the virus, it's going to kill your tissue too. So it's like, it's a race against time to save how much eye we can.
Oh my goodness.
But in 36 hours, I lost 70% of my eye tissue in my right eye. So it was like I kind of had the state of Michigan, like in a scar, like on the top of my eye. So I couldn't see. I was completely blind. If you put a finger up, I could just see like.
For a professional soccer player, how were you like dealing with that?
Well, I was kind of freaking out again because, long story short, like I'd spent 2 years trying to get to a World Cup. Now I'm finally there and I'm 6 months away. And then all of a sudden it's like, bam!
Oh my goodness.
Welcome to this. You know what I mean? You think you made it now, buddy? Good luck. And so again, it's just another one of those, kind of great life lessons where, just when you think you have it, sometimes you don't, and then some even greater challenges are going to come. But in a way, that's thankfully I was used to those types of things. Wasn't challenges weren't new for me, thankfully, and so I was just like, okay, well, how are we going to get this? I got 6 months. Like that's where the mindset starts to shift. It's like I'm not,
because it was 6 months before the World Cup.
Yeah, and I got 6 months to get back, and I'm like, because that's my focus now. I can't sit here and say, am I ever going to play again? If I find a doctor that says so anyway, I go to the doctor. Thankfully, London has the nicest and probably best eye hospital in the world. It's called Moorfields in London, and one of the surgeons was like, I'll take it. He's like, I'll get him back in 3 months. I'm like, okay. And so I get a full corneal transplant. So it's dead person's window is essentially and they 3D map it. It was kind of cool. Like I'm like into this kind of stuff, so I'm like right with the computer, like doing 3D maps on the contact and things. So they basically cut my scar out, and they cut that exact scar in, and then they like dovetail joint the tissue. So it's like it's on an angle. I don't know if you know like woodworking, how they like a dovetail joint is when it comes in at an angle. So if you pound it in, it'll grab and then it won't come back out. So your eye does the same thing, but they actually cut it on an angle. So when they put the cornea into your eye, it kind of flaps in to replace the window, and then they stitch it.
Wow.
So I had to stitch my eye. Basically, the first month I had to sit in the dark for like 3 or 4 weeks. I sat.
And I heard you were playing video games.
Not yet.
Not yet.
I couldn't play video games yet. So the first month was all about the dark.
Okay.
Because you had to heal, and so I couldn't look at laptops. You can't go outside, because anything that impedes the healing. If I look at the sun and I got a bad eye infection, like it's like my eye starts watering and then my nose breaks down and then I'm like sitting there like this, right? So it's like we got to deter all that stuff because we got to heal. And so I got on these diets like for healing things, and then I had a delivery of a stationary bike, the little bikes delivered to my house, and so I would just sit up, I wake up, have tea in the morning in the dark, and then I'd go on my bike, and I would do some workouts, and then I just sit in the dark, and I would just like did a lot of visualization, did a lot of listening to music. A lot of in my own head type of things. And
what did that visualization look like? Because I can only imagine, like, that's not your country, your family's not there.
Yeah, I was pretty alone at the time too. Yeah, but
like I'm sure you've made friends, yet at the same time, like you're still young, you're there, and you're so close to what you want, and then this happens. Like I can't imagine how that would have felt like. So where was your mind at? And so tell me about the visualization.
Again, I was really focused just on the 6 month window. You know what I mean? It was like
you're
this
like,
kind
I'm
of
gonna
long.
make it happen.
Yeah, it's kind of like this long but short idea. Okay, so let's just take. So first month, let's get this thing to heal. I'm at 3 months, or sorry, 3 weeks. Then I can play. Then I can start to run and like be with the guys again. So just get through this first month, and that's okay. The visualization, I would do things like. I would visualize like future games, like I visualize myself in the World Cup, like what I would be doing, where I'm walking out of these stadiums, like really being positive about the future and like, okay, I know this is there, but while I'm here in the dark, I might as well do something that will help serve me later. And so I would think about like the players I would play against. I'd think about like the stadiums that I'd be in. How
that would feel like.
Yeah.
So you would thoughts of like fear or like what if like it doesn't heal or in time, would thoughts like that ever creep in, or you're like, no, I'm only gonna think about this?
No, I think you have to be realistic in this life. I mean, I don't want to live in a fairy tale because life's not a fairy tale, in my opinion. But I think you have to think about both sides. But going back to the TED Talk, it's the whole concept of what are we focusing on. We have to know both sides. We do. We have to think about both. We have to be prepared for both. But where is our main maintenance and our focus? Is it on what can go right and really focusing on that? Yeah, I got 3.5 months to get on that field so I can play for another 2. So 6 months from now, I can walk out with the flag on my chest. Okay, that's a plan. Now, first get to play. Okay, cool. How do I do that? First, okay, now I got to sit in the dark. Then I'm going to actually start playing. And by the end of that season, again, my coach was very supportive. And he's like, listen, Jay, if you want to play with a stitch, you go right ahead. So I got a contact made. I played with a stitch for the last month and a half of our season, got fit. And then my coach called me in. He says, hey, we got one more game. I got to know if you're ready. We're playing Holland in Amsterdam. And they were the number 3 team in the world.
Wow.
And
no big deal, no pressure.
My first game back for the national team against those guys. And again, I kind of lived to relish these opportunities. You know, like I was never scared of those opportunities because I was always like, this is why we're here. This is what we do this for. You know what I mean? I'm not here to mess around. You know what I mean? If this is where I think I can be, let's go be that. You know what I mean? And I think we all have limitations in certain things. We all have things that'll try to trip us up. Or if I can see well enough and the doctor says I'm good, why aren't I not good? Why would I be in my head and say that I'm not? You know what I mean? Like I'm always one of those that really tries to control what he can control. And I think in these environments, it's all I could do. You want to tell me to sit in the dark? I'll sit in the dark.
Do you think this is something you learned from your parents or through, high school when you had played all these different sports? Because I feel like there seems to be this inner determination, this inner resilience. Because I'm imagining, 20-somethings, like you're still like young and you're going to this new country, you're by yourself, something like that happens, like you can easily be swayed to the other side. What do you think that is? Like, were your parents like that? Did they instill that mindset in you, is to that keep going no matter what? Or is that something you learned through sports?
I think it's a good question, in all honesty. I would say it's a little bit of both. Both my parents were I don't know if they I don't think you can teach resilience. I think you just have to show resilience by doing things and then because resilience comes by doing.
Yeah.
Whenever you put yourself in a situation or do something you've never done before or try something new, again, which my parents always tried to make me do. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, if you haven't played this sport, let's play it. If you haven't done that thing, let's go do it. If we want to go on this hike, let's go find it. You know what I mean? Like these types of things in a support level, I think is what creates the resilience later, because resilience comes within all of those things, in my opinion. And you play different sports, there's different wins, there's different losses, there's different coaches, there's different teammates. And so with that, like that relatability piece, I think for me, as I got into the professional game and how I was able to kind of, look to others, I think that's where mentorship really becomes important, because if the people in front of you are failing and being resilient too, or if have gone through struggles, or I've watched them win and lose and be gracious in their defeats, like my dad as coaches and my grandma as a coach and like all these types of things. Like
your grandma is a coach?
My grandma was a coach too. Yeah, she's in the Wisconsin Track Hall of Fame. She won the first ever state championship for Wisconsin.
That is so cool.
Yeah, So she, again, like these are the people that I kind of look to.
Yeah.
And I see what my grandma went through. She was a woman coach. Coaching for these girl team in Wisconsin when they had the first ever state championships back in 1950.
So sports and athletics, I feel like all of that like runs in your blood.
Yeah, but
and then you just took it to another level.
Yeah, well, maybe I but again, I think we should. I think every generation should say, okay, thank you. I'll try to expand. And I think I very much like that. I wouldn't say that I did that specifically with intention, but I would say that like my family and just carrying on the traditions of coaches and being successful in certain things, I think was important to me. And I think being that and representing my family and all that kind of stuff always drove me for whatever reason. And I think, I think a lot of that I did learn from them.
Tell us about the World Cup experience. What was that like? Now you're here, you heal. Part of the healing was, you got to play a lot of video games after you could have like look at light.
Yeah.
And then what was that feeling like for you? And how did it feel inside? You're like, okay, I've almost like climbing Kilimanjaro or something, and then next up you have Everest waiting for you.
Now you actually got to play in it.
Now you have to go.
No, and it's true, and I think that kind of step-by-step process has to be, included. It's just, every time you get to the new level, it's like, okay, it's almost like a reset where it's like, okay, that job's done now, but now I got to refocus on this thing. So it is kind of a refocus, and you got to make sure you check in with yourself, I think, in a lot of these situations. And, for me, it was just about, again, that Amsterdam game went well enough, and he took me. So I got to be named one of the 23. That's the first cool thing about a World Cup. The World Cup, it comes, and all of a sudden it's like, ooh, who's going to be the 23 that are named? Because there's 23 guys.
It's an honor. It's such
man.
wow.
And you never know. And so we're all sitting in our hotel rooms, and we're waiting for that phone to ring. If it doesn't ring, that's good. If it does ring, that means you got to go see the coach, and that means you're probably not making it. And so we're all
You're
sitting
like,
there,
unplug the phone.
his fingernails are going, and thankfully my phone doesn't ring, and then we all get called down to the office, or not the office, but the meeting room, and he said, okay, well guys, if you're in this room, that's because you're going to the World Cup, and lots of hugs from the guys, a lot of hugs for guys that didn't make it. We were all in the same place, and we were just finishing up a camp, and it's heartbreaking. Some guys work there, their whole lives for that opportunity, and they might have been in it 3.5 years ago, but at 3.85 years, he names the squad. And sometimes things happen. Some guys get hopped at the end, some guys are in form, some guys get injured right at the end.
Wow.
So it's kind of like it's a pretty emotional
it's like
time.
things you also can't control, like also what happened to you. It's not something you can control.
Yeah, no, exactly. And so, again, I think there was just a lot of relief for me, but it was also like, okay, well, I'm here now. So again, like really, I'm really kind of into the present moment type of thinker and player. And so it's like, okay, well, I'm here now, so let's make the most of this. So we shifted focus very quickly. We had a good team. Again, we were in 2009. We had beat Spain. We'd almost beat Brazil, winning our first ever World Cup, type trophy in the Confederations Cup. So we were there. We had a mindset of it. We were a good group, and so we walked in and looking forward to really having a good World Cup, which we did.
That's amazing. Congratulations. Like over 300 games. Like I feel like having the practice and having it in your body is one thing, but then entering the arena, the stadium with the crowd, that's a different level of stakes. Tell me about that experience. What is that like?
Oh, it's the best. Like we always say, like pressure is a privilege, and when you have 70,000 people in the stands, and in a World Cup, there's
and plus
3
like
billion.
Millions around the world, billions
yeah,
watching.
like in the World Cup, I mean, I think it was 3 billion watched it this last one, and I'm sure ours was around there too. And I think we always say like the pressure of the eyeballs, because the weight of the eyeballs is something that is real. Like if you know that there's billions of people watching on TV, you can go to that point of being like, well, what if I mess up? What if I get this thing wrong, or put the ball in the stands when I shouldn't, or what if that guy roasts me because I'm about to play against Ronaldo and I'm like living to his reputation? You know what I mean? It's easy to do that. It's much easier to do that than it is to stay focused.
How do you then? Tell me about that process for you.
Well, for me, I call it like in the speaking and stuff that I do now. I do a lot of things called like the tunnel mentality. And so it's like
Tell us about that.
So the tunnel mentality is basically like in soccer there's like that calm before the storm, like the stadium's like, and then there's the two teams are just in the tunnel and they're standing next to each other.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden the last little ref comes and then he picks the ball and then they walk out, right?
Yeah.
So the tunnel is like really like that's like the gladiator tunnel where you're like, okay.
I was gonna say the arena for me is that gladiator kind of vibe.
But this is really where it's you versus you. Like you can talk to some of the boys but there's only one in front of you, one in back of you. But this is like really in your head concentration time, and this is where you shouldn't be thinking about the noise and thinking about what are they saying to you, because they'll yell things at you, they'll throw things at you to try to disrupt you. But again, that's their job as fans, and whatever they want, they'll point lasers in your eyes, they'll do all sorts of stuff. Depending on where you are. Yeah, like we play in Honduras and Nicaragua and all these places for World Cup qualifiers for the U.S. team, and they'll do anything to win. Like 100%, they pee in their cups and throw it down, and the guys are taking corner kicks and stuff, and batteries and coins, and oh yeah, it gets nasty. But in a way, like we always love that. We're like, this must mean something. You know what I mean? Like let's take that on. Like it can't go that bad. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, but you guys have seen, soccer's like that in this world, and in a way that's awesome because it means that people give it crap. And I think that's important to really for us to appreciate the pressure. And I think that's what World Cups and playing in those things do. And
do you almost feel this feeling of when you're in a different country and obviously all the fans are on their side? Does it create that like opposite effect of like when you have, because I feel like sometimes it's almost better to not be on home turf when you have all your fans rooting for you. How is that for you?
Well, when you're at home, but imagine when you get a goal kick or you score in your home stadium, and all of a sudden you got 70,000 on your side.
You just get that surge. You get the surge.
You know what I mean? Like that's why home field is. Because again, we're thinking about when things go well.
Yeah.
This is when like you want your home, and you know, and so that's, I mean, home field advantage is real, but there is something about us against the world kind of idea, to your point, when you go into these places and you know it's a hostile environment and you know it's like there's 30 of us basically. There's 23 players and 7 staff, and we got to get in and get out. Like that's kind of the mentality of what it is in some of these places, some of these hard away grounds that you go to, because you feel that energy. But to kind of, again, long story short about the tunnel mentality, it's almost like a checklist of a you versus you conversation. So what I used to do is that I would go into my mindset to gain my confidence. It's like when you go out as the most confident being that you can be, you step into that role and that's what you are, right? And so for me, it's like, how can I be the best player that I can be, knowing that I can step out on that field and be that. And so the first thing was that I gained confidence in is that fact that somebody picked me. We don't pick ourselves. Somebody picks you. So somebody took confidence in me to put me in this tunnel. So I know I'm one of 11. Take confidence in that. Be that. Then the second one was like, instead of living to reputations, I would test them. So let's just say Ronaldo standing next to me, or like Messi, or some of these other guys I got to play against. So I would be like, okay, Ronaldo, like I give him like a little compliment in my head. He'd be like, oh, he really is that good looking, huh? And like, you know, I like joke a little bit, like in my head, like I can't believe I get to play against this dude, but I can't wait to go like test that reputation. And so for me, it was about, because I got to play against all these guys that have amazing reputations. And so then all of a sudden I'm like, okay, they're already supposed to beat me on paper. They're already, the world all thinks, all the billion eyeballs know that he's going to crush me anyway. But what if he doesn't? What if I go get to test him for 93 minutes and then I get to go see what he gets to do? And he can try to beat me. But he, you know, I know he will. But like I can be relentless for 93 minutes and see what he's got. And so that's where the second thing I get to test reputations because I get to go play against these people. I don't have to. I get to. I get to go kick that guy and test him. I'm going to do that for 93 minutes. And I'm not going to stop breathing until he does. Okay, cool. I can take confidence in that. I can do that. I'm picked here to do that. And then the third thing is that again, I don't have to. I get to. So instead of having all these people like yelling and doing all these things, I'm like, you just want to be me, essentially. And so then I don't have to take that personally. I can be like, it's cool. You guys are cool. I know what you're trying to do, but all of you would give your right leg to be here. So I would take confidence in that and be like, they're just trying to give you crap because they're trying to disrupt you. But in the end, they respect you and they want to be you.
And they want to be you.
Yeah, and so that's kind of like, that was kind of my checklist of like, okay, go be that. And so I would kind of go through that saying, and when I walk out of that tunnel with that mentality that I am that and I can't wait to go do these things because I get to be this, go be that. And then that would be it. And then I would kind of walk out and we'd start the game.
I love that. I feel like when you're describing all of that, I'm like there. Because I saw in your like TED clip and your TED talk, like, you know, everyone like walking out and you're there and like no one's really like talking about you yet. And then when you score and that crazy like head and they show it from like all these different angles, like I don't even know how do you call it, because you hit it from the head, the ball, and you were just so sharp. It was like reflex, like it's in your blood, it's in your bones. You were just like, the ball came to you, boom.
Well, yeah, that's what we're trained to do, you know what I mean, at the end of the day. And you know, we went into that game and we were a well-oiled machine. We all knew what our jobs were, and that was my job on the corner, was to wrap around the backside, and the ball got delivered right where it was supposed to be, and then you just put your head on it.
Tell me more about the World Cup and also Messi and Ronaldo, because you know that these guys, like all the fans, like what these fans are going to say, and like, I love the mindset that you're talking about, the fact that all these voices going, and you're like, yes, you guys want to be me, even if they're swearing at you and saying, I hope you lose or whatever.
Yeah, and that's not even ego talking,
happens.
that's just confidence talking, because again, confidence is the piece. Ego is what we have to live with, but like when we still have to live with one.
Yeah. And
so if my ego says, if I'm going to go test that dude's reputation, I'm going to go and test it.
Yeah.
I'm going to do that with confidence, because that's what I'm put out here to do, that somebody else put me here to do. So I'll take a lot of confidence in that, and then if they beat me, great, cool. Like I can take that home with me, but they're not gonna not know that I'm there. They're not gonna let me just go, hey, Hail Messi, you can do whatever you want. I'm on your field, not the other way around. You know what I mean? Like, because a lot of players do that.
You really?
Oh my gosh, you know, like
You're kidding.
but they play to reputation, and again, they let people because it's almost like an awe type of
So
thing.
it's almost like you're connecting more on that human heart basis instead of this image of them, this like godlike creatures.
Yes.
I know.
Well, that's the only way we can ever gain advantage because
Yeah.
they are godlike creatures, really. Like when you look at what those guys have done, Messi and Ronaldo, for the last 20 years, they've been in the conversation as being the best players in the world. Like to be the best player in the world once is almost impossible. The amount of players that have gotten one Ballon d'Or, that's the best player in the world award at the end of the year. Every year they give it away. You know, players play their whole lives for one of them. These dudes are like winning them back to back to back to back to back. Still now, Messi's winning World Cups last year. You know what I mean? Like these guys, to not just to do it like that, but to do it for so long like that is an incredible credit to both of those guys as individuals. But you know, I think when you play against them, it's just if you live to that reputation, they will make you look very, very foolish.
So tell me about being on the field with them.
Well, you just like anybody, you have to find their faults. You have to figure out where they are. With guys like that, they don't have many, but there's ways that you can do it. So Messi, you can't do it alone. So you have to work with the guys in front of you and the side of you to make sure you're closing his space at all times because he moves around. Like you can't mark Messi because he doesn't stay in one place. If you mark like a true striker, he'll sit up on top of me all day long. I'm going to play between me and the other defender. We kind of get to know him for 90 minutes, and then all of a sudden, you know, that's just us versus him. But Messi's a guy, he's a 10, so he moves all over the place. So he does it, I see him, and then he leaves, and then he sees my other, and then he leaves. So he's like the most elusive player. It's like, it's kind of like, I always say, like when I have an older brother, he's 3.5 years older than me, so I used to go play sports with them, and I was like, you know, you're trying too hard because you're playing with the older kids, and like you're missing, and you're almost a second late because you're trying to like, everything's all frantic, and that's kind of what it feels like when you play against Messi because you don't know where he is. He's here, and then he's there, and he's gone, and then he touches it around you, and you're like, what? You know what I mean? And you're kind of chasing shadows, and so that's just his elusiveness is I think the most rare trait, and he's as fast with the ball as he is without it, and that's also very rare. Normally people slow down, but he seems to speed up, and I don't know how that works, but could just be a center of gravity. But his ball control is unlike anything I've ever seen.
Wow. That is so cool. I'm in awe of like, you know, everything you've been able to accomplish, and it's truly inspiring. And obviously congratulations on the World Cup win, and then you're in Vancouver.
Yes.
From the UK.
Van City.
You're becoming the captain of Whitecaps, you know. How amazing is that? Like relocating, you wanted to travel, live all over the world, have these different experiences. You got to. And then you were here, you were the captain, and you brought all this knowledge, all this experience to be the captain of Whitecaps. What was that like?
I mean, it's an incredible honor to like, you know, be put into leadership roles like that, you know, to be the first signing of a whole franchise, because the Whitecaps came into the MLS, Major League Soccer, in 2011. So after I finished the World Cup in 2010, I was a free agent. I had a couple offers to stay in Europe, but then anyone that knows my story knew that I moved to England with a backpack. So I never got to play with your family and near your friends. And like, again, like you said earlier, I was there basically by myself for almost 8 years. And my parents would come and friends would come now and then, but you're not like,
you're by yourself.
You're not enjoying all the things. And so you go, and so I always wanted to kind of finish my career back here in North America. And so then all of a sudden the Whitecaps call and they said, hey, we want to make you your first signing for the whole franchise and really build the club around with you and all that kind of stuff. And, you know, I was looking at the deals and I was like, well, this one's money, but it's not really a leadership role. This one is money, but I might be on the bench. This one is, it's a good place, but not really a place I really want to live. This one is cool. And so Vancouver just was like kind of circled. I'm like, okay, I can come back to the MLS. So I came here. They flew me in just for like 3 days to check out the place. Like meet each other and see if it fit. So I came here, met with the club, walked around, did 3 days of things, knowing I would
Was it the summertime?
It was actually, it was fall.
Okay,
fall,
great
yeah,
time.
no, it was great. And anyway, I by the end of that, I said, yeah, let's do it. And so
you were the captain when LA Galaxy, like David Beckham, they all came?
Yep.
Yeah, and I remember like the whole team, like everyone was like I was working at Bar None like then back in the
No,
day,
oh yeah,
and like
we'd come in for sure.
yeah, like and David Beckham and everyone from like Whitecaps and LA Galaxy, and then we were going. I was like, yeah, there's this other place in Republic. Let's go there. So we all went.
Oh yeah, I wish I could give him a rebate to all my Republic bills over the years. I was the captain, so I ended up paying for most of it. But no, we had a good crew here the first couple years, and we leadership was tested though. You know, again, it's really hard putting 25 guys in a room that have never played together before and then have a good season. You know, people forget like teams take a long time to build. There's a lot of different types of players. There's a lot of ways, especially soccer. It's 11. So imagine if you had 25 people in the same room and you had to play against guys like the LA Galaxy who have been playing together for 6 years.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it's hard to hit that ground running. So I think that was the biggest thing. And then I got injured a little bit my first season. Playing on turf wasn't easy for me. And so my groins kind of went back to back. And so I missed like a third of the season. We didn't win an away game the whole season. So we won at home, but we couldn't win away. And we lost every game. And so I'm in the press, of course. I'm the captain, so I have to do media every day. And it's like, you know, I'm sitting there going, why aren't you winning? And so what happened to what's going on with the team? And I'm like, I don't know. You know, like again, half the games I'm not there because I'm not traveling because I'm injured. And so it was really like, it tested my leadership a lot. And in a way, I look at that first season as like such a great lesson for me of like trying to do too much too soon as like a leader, thinking I'm like coming in and I have to like lead everyone and I have to do everything and I have to be this person. And it just like, I didn't have to. And I was trying too hard to do it. And it wasn't working. And it was like pushing up against me. I was getting injured. No one was out on the away games. Like I wasn't traveling with them. So our leadership group wasn't really there for when we were away. When we were at home, we were all there because we're at the stadium when we were injured. And so I think that did have a transfer. And I was like, I had to let go of some of that stuff. And as we came into year 2, I had to like empower the younger guys to like help me. You know, I had to empower a couple of other leadership guys to like really ask them what they wanted to do with their leadership. And so I actually peeled the layer back and really got back to the leaders around me and really kind of refocused on how I could maintain focus and help and get people to help me, because I did feel like I tried too hard to do it on my own.
And that's the sign of a great leader, to be like, okay, these are the areas I need support and I need help in. And of course, you're coming to a new city with all these new people. I want to ask, you played with David Beckham. What was that like?
Well, yeah, I got to play with him once. He was in the All-Star team. I got to be the Whitecaps' first All-Star pick back in 2013. And so I got to play with him in the All-Star game. It was really
amazing.
cool. Him and another French guy named Thierry Henry. I got to play on the same team as those guys, which was pretty cool. And then he kicked me in the face in the end of the playoffs. It's awesome. You gotta Google the photo. Just hit Dave Beckham, Jay Demerit kick face. It's like my face is like wrapped around his shoe, and I look like Goonies, like the dude from Goonies. Like honestly, it's the best photo ever. Like it's like how to look really hot with David's boot in your face. But yeah, no, he honestly, I have so much respect for that guy. Like, but living in England for so long, I know him and I've played against him now a fair few times, but. Again, not to call him a friend, but just more of an opponent that I've kind of respected over many years, and what he's done for the game. You know, him coming to America, really helping grow the game in the States where I grew up, obviously. But he's just always gracious. Like when he comes into the rooms, he makes sure he goes to every person in that room and shakes their hands, and generally knows all of our names and all that kind of stuff. You know, like you know how many people that guy meets like that every day? Yeah. Thousands, generally. You know, think about what this guy does every day, and all the people he has to remember, and all the things that he's gracious and be nice, and not have a day where he can be like, you know, I don't want to do that. Yeah. You know, he's always there. He helps so much with lots of different things. He's a great example for a lot of different reasons, and you know, these are the real icons of the game.
And I definitely see you as an icon as well, especially here in Vancouver, because after retiring, like as the captain, you're now giving back, you know, and I love all the positive interviews, the talks, the keynote speeches, because when I put in your name on YouTube and I'm just like watching all these videos, I'm like, wow, I didn't even know this about you or that story, or that you're so into personal development. Tell us about Rise and Shine and how that came to be.
Sure. Well, I mean, Rise and Shine started with the documentary film, and so just before the World Cup in 2010, I get approached by this guy I played college soccer with and his buddy, and they're like, "Hey, we want to make a film we want to turn this story into a documentary because if you make the World Cup, it's like the craziest thing. Like no other American's ever done that. And I'm like, okay, well, okay. Like it's kind of weird making a movie about yourself when you're like in the prime of your career. I'm like, but I'm not going to do anything. I'm like, if you guys want to set up interviews, like cool, I can do that. But they're like, no, it's about how you got there. That's where the story is.
Yeah.
And so like, and then like that story needs to be told. We need to tell it. Like, and if we needed to tell it, we got to send a camera to the World Cup. And I'm like, actually, that does make sense. Like, because if you're not going to have real life footage of the World Cup, like the pinnacle moment, like we either got to make it or not. Because you can't recreate that film. And so they hired a dude on Craigslist, sent him to South Africa. I swear to God. And they got some interviews while we were there and all these things. And then after the World Cup was done, our friend, he just started a media marketing company in LA, and he's like, hey, have you guys heard about this thing called Kickstarter? He's like, let's put the documentary on that. We'll do a media campaign around the players and do some cool, give away some cool stuff, and we'll raise the money. Because they had to raise $215,000 to pay for the produced footage. Because if you buy a minute of produced footage from FIFA, it's $50,000 a minute, and the Premier League's $40K a minute.
Wow.
And so they had like $200,000 worth of footage to buy to make the documentary actually real. And so they went to Kickstarter, and I swear, like 70 days, $223,000 was donated by the soccer community.
Oh my goodness.
This is in 2011. Like no one's really donating money online or anything like that. I was like, what? I put my credit card about some idea?
Yeah.
That's weird.
Yeah. Why would I share that information online?
Yeah. I get a DVD. So yeah, you got a DVD,
Yeah.
and then so you get the DVD, but yeah, like thousands, like almost 2,000 people that I'd never met before.
Jay, I didn't know that fact that you mentioned earlier, that you're the first American football player to play in the World Cup.
No. I wasn't. I was the first American captain of Watford.
Captain. Okay, captain.
Yeah. But very few Americans have captained teams in the
amazing.
UK. There's been there's many more famous players than me, but from where I came from to kind of where I got to, like that rise it was very unique and rare. And I like to say, like, I wasn't famous, so I'm like more like the cult hero kind of idea, where I was like, I'm not the Superman over there with all the cameras on. I'm like the dude like beelining in the back with like a cult hero status, like that's the thing with the fans. They either know me and love my story so much because they just know it and see how far I've come, or they just don't know who I am. And so I'm totally cool with that role. That's who I am as a person too, and as a character. So
what do you think has been, I mean, I know this is a funny and weird question to ask, yet at the same time big. What do you think has been like the secret to your success? Because I imagine, when I'm hearing your story of like you being 19 and, your parents and growing up in this town, going to university, and then this, and then you're like, I want to experience the world, and things kept happening for you. And this the young man who moves to the UK, and he keeps taking chances. What do you think is that thing inside of you that keeps burning bright and keeps wanting to have these experiences and wanting to push forward? I really feel there's something inside of. Would you like to share that with us?
Yeah, well, it's belief, I think, is the idea. But I think belief is earned in this life. And I mean, kind of the long story short about where we move now, it's like, Rise and Shine becomes this thing. We get this vehicle as a movie, and then we build programs now around it. Like, how do you actually teach somebody to learn about themselves enough where they can go and believe that they can do something? And so that's what I did. I had enough support in my life. I did enough things in my life that I could refine myself enough to know that I could go and attain what I attained. But that was years of working. That was years of trialing. That's years of making mistakes, getting beat up, getting, told no. These are the true adversities that build character in this life. But we can't teach them. You have to do them. You have to go through the experience in order to truly refine and refine and refine. And I don't think that there's enough of that right now. There's not enough of the practice. It's just it's a theory. It's a thing that's out there. But to get there, you got to go like this. And most of the time, as anyone sees those memes with the graph, it's not this. It's like this. No. And that's what life really is. And I think, my secret was the fact that I had a lot of good support as a young person. I was allowed to be me. Within that, I was in my energy system and wanting to go out and do. I did. I took jobs. I took a bunch of jobs. I have a degree in design. I played a bunch of sports. I did a bunch of things. I met a bunch of people. I traveled all around the world. I did a bunch of stuff. So I knew. I had refined enough to know what I wanted in this life. And with that came a belief that I can go and get it, because I knew the skills that I had inside of me were real and they knew they were valid. But we're not doing that right now. We're putting a pipe dream out there and going, oh, and then we're blaming everybody else when we don't get there. And that's a problem. And so what I wanted to do as I came out of the game was really start to create a curriculum around like first answering questions as to why I was able to do it. Is it because I'm uber talented? Is it because I have something else? I'm like, no, it's because I had a work ethic. Again, that was built by my support system and my town. You know, I grew up watching Brett Favre play. You think Brett Favre doesn't have a work ethic? The dude played like 350 games in a row in the NFL. Like, dude's an Iron Man. Like, I had inspiration like him. And so his toughness, his ability to be happy and play the game with joy was something I brought into my life.
And I feel like a lot of that, like what I'm hearing is mindset. It's the inner focus, because you can have the training, the strength, the, you know, everything. But this, like when you were telling me that you had to sit in a dark room for this many days, you were working on this as well as your body, because your body can be as sharp and everything. But if you're not sharp in here, because earlier when I was speaking with Tommy Europe, Tommy talks about so much in here, because so many guys who want to get XYZ success, they get there, but what was driving them was their fear so much. So they don't even get a chance to enjoy the success.
Yeah.
Because all these years you're running, you get there and you're like, oh.
Yeah. When again, that's focusing on the result and the outcome instead of the process, right? So when you think about the trophy, you know, if we're just focusing on that, most of the time we don't even get there. So that disappointment, that mental health that comes with that failure isn't, instead of like, I want to work my butt off and I'm going to do all these things. I'm going to learn how to be disciplined. I'm going to learn how to be on time. I'm going to learn how to be, be consistent. Those are the intangibles you learn by doing all this stuff. And all of a sudden you fall short. You're like, oh, never mind. I don't need this trophy anymore because I got a work ethic. I got to be on time and I know what to do now. And so now I can live here. But that doesn't really happen because you have to have a mindset to be able to break through a lot of those adversities that come with that process. And so that's the hard part.
So other than sports, like, is there anything else that you do to help with your mindset? Like, you know, obviously you're teaching a lot and you put camps together, but when you were an athlete, was there something like journaling or meditation or Tai Chi, things that you did that you feel have been, have allowed you to focus, and especially in darker times when, you know, before World Cup and your eye surgery and such?
Well, I always say any player that I work with now, it's you have to have something else off. We call off the ball. So like training every day it's easy to be on the ball, right? Because you're always just like you have to be obsessed with your sports, and it's like, whoa, if we're not training 60 hours a week, it's this. And I believe that we should have other things, because if all we has that ball, what happens when the ball gets taken away? What happens if that ball gets popped? Like, now I'm going to sit here and twiddle my thumbs because I got nothing else. And so having something off the ball, call it a hobby, or, you know, paint or take photos or whatever that is, something off the ball you got to do. So that was always like, because when you put the ball away and you're like, oh, I love this thing, whatever that is, and then you come back to the ball, you're like, oh, the ball. That's right, I missed you, ball. I'm ready to go again. This has been fun.
So what was that for you?
Art and design. Like I would go to a museum a week usually. On my day off, I would go pick a different museum in London, or I had like a season pass to the Tate Modern in London.
You know what I missed about London is the museums were like, I walked into V&A and the National Portrait Gallery, and I was like, it's free or by donation.
Yeah, exactly.
And beautiful, magnificent places.
Yeah, and so I go there, and then Camden. I lived in Camden in London, so I go out to, like, you know, there are cool bars and musicians, and I had a lot of musician friends off the ball. And so I had DJ friends, hip hop artist friends, and so I'd go to their shows and stuff. They'd come down to Camden, and so I was always, you know, I'm a very social guy too. I like going out and you know, letting loose in the times that I could.
And I've noticed you like building a community.
I do. Well, I'm a man of the people. I come from that environment. You know, the community-based thinking and community-based person that I am. But I come from that, and that was built within me. And you know, caring about others, supporting others. You know, like in Wisconsin, we're very much like that, and my parents are very much like that. And you know, if I can take care of people, I will. I want to, and if we can build community around that and support systems within that, again, that's what we do. Our programs are support systems for young people.
Yeah, so let's talk about that, because with Rise and Shine, you've been doing it for the last few years. You bring amazing people together. So what's happening this year, and you're mentoring young kids?
Yeah, so we do teenagers. So we're 12 plus. We do 12 to kind of like all the way through college. We do mentorship programs. Danny and I run the program. Danny Wilson is she's got her master's in sports psychology, but she's also a very famous DJ. So she plays house music on the weekends to thousands of people at festivals, and then we do online mentorship, but then we do in-person things in the summers. And so our camps we do 3 different kinds. We do DJ camps, and we do soccer camps, and we do leadership camps. So any kid can come to those. Otherwise, it's specific to the subject. So if it's a soccer camp, it's very masterclass type S, where it's like we get professionals that play pro in these things, and then every day we have a mentor of the day that comes up and spends the afternoon with us. And so one day it'll be a chef from the restaurant that all the kids know, and then the next day it will be like a fire chief from that town, or a CEO that just sold his company for X. Or
what cities are you doing them in?
We've done them in 5 cities in North America. Mainly it's here. It's based here in the summers. But the cool thing that we're doing is we're actually been building an app with EA, the big video game company, over the last 2 years.
That's amazing.
And it's going to be like a gamified masterclass. So it's like you learning from celebrities and brands that the kids all love, but they do like educational stories and challenges based on like TikTok and things like that, like based on whatever it's due. So you have to like chop an onion with a chef, or do a push-up contest with a fitness coach from the Chicago Bulls, or like
I love that because it's such a positive way. I remember when I saw you last, you were saying, "Oh, learning something with Mbappe, and like you're doing this." And
when
you're
again,
doing
like when
push-ups.
we get to the depth of the stories of these people too.
Yeah.
And when we get to the depth of amazing people's stories, there's some really good content in there, and that's mentorship. Mentorship is just really good storytelling, and so I can take it or leave whatever that person is doing and apply it to me. You know, that's what good mentorship is. Good mentorship isn't be like me. This is what I did, so take it how it applies to you. It's very different than, oh, this is what I did, so this is what you have to do. That's not true, because then that's telling you that you got to be like me, and that is impossible, because you're like you and I'm like me. And so are we building more of like a mindset around that? I think again, it's just experience. It's not be like me, because you can't. It's impossible.
We're all unique, and embracing that. I remember the conversation we had last time I saw you a couple months ago was also, it's, you know, inspired by your son, and like you really wanted to create this positive momentum, this positive energy, and put it out into the world and see how you can affect the future. The future generations.
Yeah, and I think when you have kids, you kind of feel that responsibility a little bit more. You know, I certainly did when I started to see, I work with teenagers, and then now my son's 7, so I get a whole range of like what the kids are dealing with now. And every teenager I know suffers from stress and anxiety, every one of them. And that's the problem. You know, I didn't suffer from stress and anxiety when I was a teenager. You know what I mean? I might have a day go bad, but like it wasn't like it is now. It's like we're constantly looking at this thing.
I was like climbing trees and like playing outdoors, and now it's like video games and social media.
And it drives it. And so again, that's why our digital program has to be so important. That's why EA is behind us, because they see the scalability of it, but they also see that if we're going to teach them anything, we got to change the content of what they're watching. And so the cool thing is, and this is where we start with the mentality first idea, is that it's in our profiles. When you log into the app, it's not going to be your face; it's your brain. And it's split into the 9 forms of intelligence, built around this guy named Gardner, who was a Harvard psychologist, and it was about at developing humans. You should touch on all 9 intelligences to know if you're actually that thing. How could you know you're good at being a chef if you've never cooked before? How could you know that you're really strong if you've never done a push-up or lifted a weight? And so with that, like, we can do that now with digital. You can set up your phone and you can do a line with an actress. You can sing a song with a singer. You can do a push-up with a fitness coach. You can make a smoothie with a nutritionist. Anything that you can set up your phone and do can now become a piece of education.
You're learning new skills.
Yeah, and at the same time, your brain is growing, and so you're gaining mental health by going back to your dashboard. You're not losing it by saying, "Oh, you suck," or "You're ugly," or "That's a stupid shirt." Because this is where I come back to my dashboard. I'm like, "Oh God, more stupid shirt talks. Oh God, maybe I am stupid." This is where we're going.
Yeah.
This is where we are, and that's wrong fundamentally. So we're taking away chat from the beginning. We probably introduce it later. Once you get to be a recognized user, then you can start to chat to your friends, but only then. And you can't comment on things and the challenges. You just get points for them. And so you're always gaining in points, you're always gaining in knowledge, and your brain's growing the whole time, and you're seeing that digitally. You're watching your mental health grow. And at the same time, you're meeting celebrities. You might win the Zoom call that 50 kids get to go on set of The 100 and watch the anniversary episode. Or 100 kids get a free ticket to the Whitecaps game because they get to do the chant and tell everyone how awesome the Whitecaps are into the phone. You know what I mean? Like imagine the possibilities.
I love that. And then you're not just like going on Facebook and commenting or whatever, TikTok, but you're learning something new. I think I'd mentioned that a friend of mine is also developing an app, and if you're here in August, I would love for you to meet. She's in Germany, and kind of similar story of like her daughter was really struggling and in school, and it's something I didn't deal with. Like before, it was like, okay, bullying is just in school, but now how much has gone into social media, and it's with the kids throughout, and they don't even get this like breathing room or the space away from that. So something like what you're putting into the world, like this positive energy and teaching them, that's fantastic. What can you share with me? What would you say has been, it would be maybe hard, maybe you can share 2 or 3, one of the proudest moments of your life to date?
Probably number one is national anthem, first game of the World Cup. You're one of 11 standing in the middle of the field, with your hand in your heart like that, and your national anthem comes on, knowing kind of you've been picked to represent your country at the highest levels, kind of like the ultimate, I think. Again, it makes it everything because my family was in the stands and like everyone was there with me. You know what I mean? It wasn't like I was there alone. So that was why. So that's probably number one. I'm on a soccer level. I mean, if we're talking about our careers or our lives, which again, 20 years of my life was given up to the sport. So I mean, mainly there. The goal, obviously, that one kind of put me on the map. So that's got to be up there, top 3. And then probably my son, he's right up there too, as far as, I come from a family that loves family, and I live in a co-parenting family now where we're redefining what co-parenting families can do. And, my ex-wife is fantastic, and we have such a cool co-parenting relationship. Like we nest.
I feel like I know you guys from before you had your
Yeah,
son,
you probably
and
met
when
us
you
when we were
guys were
together.
yes, when you guys were married, and you were so beautiful together, and the photo shoot. I still have footage of that. Photos and footage.
No,
of
and
that.
and we broke up, for certain reasons, but at the end of the day, like if it was better for us, then it's better for us, and we have this beautiful kid in the middle, and we both love him so much and respect each other as parents, and so that's really where co-parenting begins, is where your ego ends, is what I like to say, because it's like the moment you start dropping that and just worry about the kid in the middle and be like, well, what's best for him, and how can we accommodate and support him in his ways, and it's like it just becomes easier. And so we co-parent out of the same place in Whistler, so Oaks can live in the same place, and her and I come in and out of it, and then we have our separate place. I have my place down here in Vancouver, so we very much make it work, and he doesn't know the difference, from what we can tell and what he can tell. He's got a great family life, and all Ashley's family's here, so I still do all the dinners and do all the stuff. So it's almost like nothing really changed except for our status. But
that's really beautiful.
It's something I mean, it wasn't easy in the beginning, but now it's thriving.
That's amazing. And you were also mentioning about a festival. So I think by the time this airs, I think it'll be close to festival date. So tell us about the Rise and Shine Festival.
Yeah, so that's kind of the last piece of the Rise and Shine world. We have the movie, which kind of starts. That's the tool, so that people can learn the story.
Before we go into that, why Rise and Shine? Why the name Rise and Shine?
Well, it's just what the guys chose when we were thinking about what to name the documentary, because it is really the true Rise and Shine moment. Of
I really love that. It's like rise and shine and like take on the world and like shine bright internally as well.
Exactly, and that's in it. It's very hard. It's very hard to shine without a rise. Most people have to go do it the hard way. Most people have to rise in order to shine, and that's where we have to live in a mentality and just in this life. And I think we always like that. It always stuck. It always means something deeper than what it actually is, and that's kind of how it all went down. And then now you can use it across all things. Like I didn't want to call it like the Jay Demerit program because it's way bigger than me. I'm just a story in the Rise and Shine world, and so that. We want to provide other stories in the Rise and Shine world. That's why we bring in every mentor every day. Like those are different stories that are mine. They're just a different subject. The chef has the same story as the fireman, that has the same story as the captain. Like you wouldn't be surprised at the similarities between all these highly successful people. And so that's why we got to educate together. That's why we all have to be mentors together, because you never know which kid's going to relate to which person until you put them in the room. And the kid goes, oh my God, like I never even cared about fires, but I want to be a fire chief now. Who cares about soccer camp anymore? And that's what I want to get to. That's what our programs do. I see it all the time. Like we had a kid last year, we had an artist come in. She's amazing. She did this pencil drawing, and we got to pick their favorite Premier League player and then draw them. This kid, like he hadn't drawn in like 3 or 4 years, and he drew like he'd been trained for 15 years.
Wow.
And he's like, oh yeah, thanks for getting me that back. I haven't drawn forever.
Wow, that's beautiful.
Because he went to some camp that had
Yeah.
nothing to do with drawing. Then all of a sudden the drawing person came in, and all that revitalized his whole talent pool. And that's what we need to do as seed planters. We have to continue to plant seeds. It's the only way that we get development to get where it's supposed to go. And if we're going to be mentors and developers and educators, this is what we got to do. We're not sitting here trying to develop ourselves. Like, we're trying to create programs for them. So do it. Like, it's not about us, you know what I mean, at the end of the day. And so that's really where the focus lives now, and how we can help. And because they need it more than ever. And that's the scary part, in all honesty. That's why I'm very passionate about what I do now, because it is so important, and there's not enough of us out there trying to, you know, help and support and understand, because we can't help them if we don't understand, like, where did the stress and anxiety comes from. 95% raise their hands now. But what happens?
Wow.
My whole room, and I always started just in the mental health, just because I want them to know that everyone's in this together. So when you put your hand up, and I do too, like, we can start to be in the room together. And then we actually bring professionals that know exactly what they're talking about.
And it's so amazing for them to see an adult doing that as well. You know, instead of like, oh, you're just going through that and like deal with it, or like go play with your friends, or go play video
Yeah,
games.
or go figure it out.
Yeah.
Yeah. And again, there's a part of go figure it out. We all still have to have good conversations in our own heads, and we need to love ourselves more than anything. That's what I always say. Like, if you don't love yourself, you can't give that back to somebody else. Like, it's impossible. So learn how to do that first. But you're never going to love yourself unless you know who you are and what you like and what you are and how you want to be in this life. But the only way you're going to figure that out is by planting seeds and doing stuff. Whatever that is. Go to the concert. Find the new friend. Go ask the girl. Do whatever it is that you're trying to do. But just know that it comes from inside of you. It's already there. It's already built inside you, all of us. It's just about refining it and getting to it, finding it.
And you're also helping them have dreams, because I think it's just so important to dream and be like, oh, I can draw, or I can be a chef, or I can be like Mbappe or Jay, or, you know, or I can sing or act, versus just behind a video game or commenting on social media or whatever that is, whatever they're doing these days. That's fantastic. Tell us about the festival, and also tell us, when can we expect the app launch?
Sure. Well, the festival is September 8th and 9th, and that's our fundraiser for the program. And so, you know, a bunch of us professional adults go out and have a great time in the field for 2 days, and we raise money. All the ticket sales go to the program. And so with that money, we send kids from all up and down this corridor to camps for free, and so they just have to get there. So we have First Nations communities all the way to Nanaimo that are coming. We have downtown Eastside kids that work with the programs we work down in the inner cities. And so we just get these kids out of their zones, and we help pay for them through us going out and having a good time in the field. And so that kind of completes the circle of the engagement within Rise and Shine. And then the app is now the digital way we can connect them. So eventually you'll be able to earn tickets to the festival by doing good in your community, or you'll get to, you know, meet a DJ while you're there by learning about them and what makes them cool DJs. And so there's a lot of storytelling, but it's all gamified and fun, so you can redeem things you actually like experiences, or, you know, tickets to a show, or coupons for your favorite brands. So it really does create this like circle of engagement, but it's fun for everybody, and everybody wins. And so that will hopefully be out by New Year. 24 is the plan. We're going to hit 24 running hard, and you know, start to give people back to themselves. That's the idea. It's like when you flip the mirror and start worrying about what's going on inside, and then you reward yourself for it, not only in knowledge but in actual rewards that are tangible within your life. Now you can start to get that true confidence, and that confidence, full circle, goes to the belief. And when you believe you can do it, you will.
That's beautiful. I love that. That's a quotable. That's, you know, on the Instagram reel right here. Yeah. What do you do for self-care? Because I feel like you're doing a lot of this output, giving a lot of energy out into the world, helping inspire people. How do you care for yourself?
Well, I'm also one of those people, like, it's crazy. I'll have like a 12-hour day with a bunch of 15-year-olds, and I'll come in and I'll be buzzing. And like my friends, or like my ex, would just be like, how the hell do you have energy? Like, for real, you've been since 8 o'clock, you've been with 15-year-olds like all day. I'm like, but again, like it gives me energy. Like being around people lifts me up. It feeds me, and like I don't lose energy. I gain it
on purpose.
Yeah, and so like that part of my self-care is actually going out into the world and being with people and really like being with them and being around them, and they lift me up as much as I lift them up. I think so. That's one. I do these like circuit sets 3 times a week. So I like usually it's a run-based circuit set where I do like strength, cardio, and like like different systematic work within my 30 minutes. And so I go outside, I get some fresh air, I do a lot of things like that, so I stay fit. I try to do it like 3 or 4 times a week. That kind of keeps me working out. Definitely helps.
I saw you were training to play a soccer match a couple of months ago, right?
Yeah, I was. I ended up making it. I realized that my body was going to break down. I can't go play with 28-year-old active pros. Like I'm 43 now, and I got one leg through my Achilles rupture and a couple other things. It doesn't really function as well as it should. I was working out. I'm the fittest I've been in 7 years since I've stopped, but I know my limits, and so I moved to assistant coach. We ended up taking 3rd.
Ooh.
Instead of, it's a winner take all $1 million. It's called TST, but we ended up taking 3rd. But we won our first 6 games for a team that met all together 15 minutes before our first game. We were pretty stoked. And so, yeah, I've moved to assistant coach, chief motivation officer, is the new role.
Love that.
At the Sneaky Fox Football Club, which is
that's the fox necklace
and so
you're
the
wearing.
Fox. Yeah, this is. And so I would come in with my chains. So Oaks gave me a chain for Father's Day because we like to wear chains and like jewelry and stuff. And so he gave me this chain, so I'd put it outside my polo.
Yeah.
And so then I would kind of come in, and I'd cut the sleeves off my polo, and like it was like looking like a real weird coach. You know what I mean? And because these guys are they're all my age and they're all my friends and stuff, so it's kind of, we're not really coaches, but like we're on the sidelines making the subs and things like that, and motivating the boys. So it was super fun, and watching him, because Oaks never saw me play. Like my son, he's 7, and so he was born just after basically right as I stopped, and so to watch him fall in love with the game, like I'll bring him to Whitecaps games or I'll bring him to Watford games or something, but he's never like really wanted to kick it.
Yeah.
But when he got to be on the field with the guys and in the locker room with the things, and he was just like into it, and he knew all the players and stuff, and like, now you're falling in love with it. Because again, like, it's not my show.
I feel like it's in his genes to become an athlete. Between Ashley and you, it's
yeah. Well, again, there's nothing but pressure on that kid right now. Like, Ashley and I talk about this a lot. We're actually in a unique parenting position to take pressure off our kid. When your traditional parents are like, well, what are you going to be, and how do you do that? Everyone he already gets all the questions. Like, oh, are you going to play for America? Are you going to play for the Canada?
He's like, I'm going to paint.
He's like, I just want to draw robots, man. And that's what I tried. That's like when I had a kid, I was very much my focus to make sure that he was creative instead of athletic. Because the genes are already there, right? He's fine athletically. But I'm like, if only he just relies on his athletic talent, that's his risk. So I'm like, let's get creative. So we draw all the time. We make things all the time, and he was drawing robots at like 2.
Wow.
Loving it. And we draw 3 times a week. We just get the pens out. We pick a subject, and I do a lot of art with him, a lot of design stuff, and super fun. Like I would rather have him do that than play sports. But I have a good feeling that his sport prowess.
You're not going to be like Tiger Woods' dad, or like, was it Tiger Woods' dad, or also Monica Seles, or Martina Hingis. Her mom like gave her a tennis racket when she was like super young, and
the ball's there. The ball's there if you want to kick it. Let's kick it. That's always been my thing. That's why I say I'll take to him all the time. If you want to kick the ball, it's right there. But I'm not going to sit here and be like, hey, let's go kick the ball, like throwing it at him, and you're like, why aren't you kicking the ball? You know what I mean? Because that happens. And that'd be very hypocritical for me as a youth program director that I'm being singular in my approach and saying that my kid's got to do what I did. That's unfair to him and his journey. So we're just here to support. That's what we do.
So the show is Inspired Life Vancouver. I love to ask all the guests what inspires them in life. Like, where do you draw your inspiration from?
For me, a multitude of people for sure. My parents are my greatest inspiration as far as, how to live life with happiness and care and love. I think they're great examples for me. They've been married for 53 years, I think, this year. But not just in their marriage, but as...
53 years, wow.
Yeah, but as people, they've always been together and supportive, and they let me be me. You know what I mean? Like, I'm kind of... I'm not going to say I'm strange, but I would say that I'm unique in my approach to this life, and they've always just never questioned it. They've always just let me be that. And thankfully my results have always proven that they were right. But for me to have that support early on and not be told that I shouldn't do something or don't go there or don't do that, I never got that. And so that allowed me to go and find myself. And I very much am always inspired by them for that. Some of my coaches, for sure. One of my coaches in Chicago named Brett Hall, he was the one that kind of showed me the resilience that I needed, not only through his mentorship and knowing what he went through to make it pro, but just seeing that relatability and like having him trust me and be like, dude, I see it, you go get it, kind of idea. Where that's all I needed. I didn't need the rest because no one was telling me I was good enough. I just needed one, and he was the one. And when I was in the Chicago days, and those kind of crossroads, and then I'm inspired. I'm inspired by the next generation and my kid. It kind of gets me out of bed every day. This whole idea of like, how can we help these young people who are so smart and so capable? And like, I'm inspired by them right now because I research it all the time, and we're building this app for Gen Z. So I gotta get into the minds of them, and I gotta sit across from them at tables or at dinners or at camps and go, well, what do you need? What do you want? Like, how can we help you? Because all your hands going up is a big problem when we're just here to have, we have everything we ever need in this life times 20. Like what we had, like all the tools, all the intangibles that would have a great life. It's that times 20. That's almost the problem, is that it's too much. But really focusing on the next generation and what they need to actually be there.
Sometimes a bit of sensory overload too, with everything.
Yeah.
Like something I've started doing actually. A guest on the show inspired me to do this, and I had heard of the concept from like different podcasts and stuff, was like keeping your phone on airplane mode, like when I wake up, like don't just turn it on. So the most I went off without was like 3 hours. I'd been up for 3 hours and my phone was on airplane mode. No Instagram, no WhatsApp, no email, no notification. And then today was just like an hour, and I did my journaling, my meditation, and then I was like, okay, I will turn it on now. Because it's the dopamine hit that we get in the morning, and then rest of the day you're just catching up to that. But it's become, there's times, like even last night, I'll be guilty of saying this, I'm sitting there outside looking at the sunset, but I'm on my phone, and I was like, watch the sun go down, and then something catches my eye, and the sun's already set by the time I look back up, because I'm on my phone.
Yeah.
When
presence is key. And I have to practice presence. Oaks teaches me presence all day long. Dad, get off your phone. Dad, don't do that. And I forget that. Like, I'm like, do I really need to check that like again one more time? Whatever that is, or a comment or something like that. And again, I try not to do it too much either. I try to limit my social media, but I'm on it all the time. And I think just maximizing that time and energy is always my goal, right? And I don't always get it right, but I think just really being conscious of that and aware of what that time and energy is. And again, with that comes people and who you spend your time with. And, I try not to waste a second of my life. And I have a lot of energy, so I do a lot of things, which I do on purpose. But some people it looks really stressful, like that I can't, like, how do I manage all that stuff? But I'm like, I do it because I love it, but it's also like, it's manageable. You just got to pay attention.
It sounds like you're just in touch with that, your life force. And some people's life force, energy, prana, chi, whatever you call it, is more. And then you want to focus it on creating and being creative and sharing and connecting with people. I'm so curious, like, when is your birthday?
December 4th.
Okay, Sagittarius. Fire sign. I knew there was fire in there. I knew it.
And creative energy too. Like Sagittarius are a lot of creator.
And I'm free spirit, travel, because the adventure bit, like when you mentioned the desire to travel.
Yeah, and I don't know if you ever heard some of the spirituality codes. Like there's this personality called the generator.
Yes.
And so I'm such a generator personality too. Like
I
generate other people, but other people that generate me. Like they keep my engine on. You know what I mean? Like what we were talking about earlier. I'm very much into that, and getting in touch with my spiritual health over the last couple of years has been good too. And then the rest is just when you understand your purpose, it's really easy to live by it. But again, the hard part is finding it, understanding it, and actually doing it is actually the easy part, because it's a joy. It's not a stress. It's a joy that I get to do that. But until you understand what you're supposed to be here to do, that's the hard part of figuring that out. And through my experience and all the stuff that I've done now in my life, I understand what it is, and now I just get to live it every second of every day, and that for me is a joy. It's not something that I just get excited about it, and who knows where it goes, but that's the best thing. When I know that, I just make the most of it, and I don't take anything for granted. And that's not going to change now.
I love that. Has there been a particular book or podcast that you like listened to or read that like really left an imprint on you?
Lately, I read a book called Breath by James Nestor, or Breathe by James Nestor.
Okay.
Mind blowing. It's I mean, I don't know if you do breath work or anything like that, but
I have in the past, yeah.
yeah. So essentially what he does is he just educates you on the systems that we have and how we can control our nervous systems with our breath, and we can control how we sleep with our breath. We can control how we get up for an event with our breath. And it's all built inside of us. We don't need to go anywhere, and it's free.
Yeah.
And you just have to do it. And you have to figure out where the systems are and how to control them, because all of our systems are different. But he very much goes into it. It's really easy to understand. It's a fast read, but it changed the way that I do it. Because now I call it like taking sealing 100 breaths that I never had before. So I'll do like sets of 5, like in 5 seconds in, 5 seconds out, and I'll catch myself a couple times a day, and I'll do it. So I'll steal like 100 extra breaths, and like that get full expansion is going to give me extra time in this life. So like learning about those little codes, but then like actually trying to live by them and practice them for me has been really fun. And that book taught me that.
I remember, I don't know if it was a podcast or it was during because I did transformational breath work a couple of years ago. And first they would prep you for it, and you would do some warm-up exercises, and then you lie down, and then they would play some tribal music, and then you're breathing, and I was breathing, and then almost like your hands going like this, and you just have this amazing like release. And afterwards, after like 2 hours of doing that, I'm like leaving, like I can feel like every cell in my body. Like
well, again, you woke up,
yeah.
your sympathetic nervous system. The parasympathetic lets us chill. The sympathetic makes us go up. So when you start to do that, you can feel the energy because you just pushed it there.
Yeah.
And that's what you feel, right? But again, your breath did that. Isn't that amazing?
Yeah.
We have that inside of us. This is like what Wim Hof and all these other amazing people are doing out there, teaching the way of how do we use that to warm ourselves up, to cool ourselves down, to make ourselves fall asleep, to get ourselves up for ready for action. Like whatever that is, it's all built in. Again, that's the amazing thing. And again, you felt it enough to know that it's real.
Yeah.
And then you can go deep on all the other medicines and all the other things, and we can talk about this for days.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Is there a particular spot in Vancouver that you like to go to, or surrounding area? Because you're spending time up in Whistler, but in BC, in around here, that really feeds your soul.
I mean, we are surrounded by the greatest nature on the planet, and so there, and I do. We have a property in Squamish on the beach. That's like most solace, like just the best. You get out there and there's nobody around. There's elk in your yard. You know what I mean? You're in the mountains. The mountain air is there something
Magic.
special about this place? And that's where I try to go on the days where I really just need to unplug. Or sometimes I drive the highway a lot. From here to Whistler is like an hour and a half. So I co-parent my son out at Whistler, so I'm back and forth a lot. But sometimes I'll do just because of the drive. The drive is so beautiful. I'll just do it no radio, no music, and I'll just like sit in silence. And I'll be like my meditation with like the most beautiful views on my left or right, and I'm just like thinking about things or going into my, mindset stuff or like, where am I at? I do a lot of visualizations, like where am I at and where am I going? Like, because I don't do a lot of like retrospective work because we need to know what happened, but like it's not gonna make me move forward. You know what I mean? And I'm very much focused on that in my approach to mindset and where we're going, because that's more important. If that's but important, that learning experience is in. But where am I putting my focus? The focus is how do I move forward, whatever that is. And so I use a lot of that time. I sit in my own car, like, okay, where am I at and where am I going? And a lot of that kind of questioning in my mindset and things. I should probably meditate a little bit more. Just getting more like, because my mind is racing at 1,000,000 miles an hour. I got a lot of things I got to take care of in my life, but I would like to calm down a little bit. So I think I'm trying to break that. I'd love to learn Spanish. Is kind of one of the things in my potential list of things I want to do, as far as growth and self care, as you talked about earlier. I think all those things are important. Learning new skills, being in new environments, also one of the things I really try to do. We've had some issues with the music festival, trying to move it to a couple of different locations. So we finally got a new location, so we got to move there. But now I got to think of a whole new place, like a new stage, new environment. Like now we got to refocus the whole festival as to what we're gonna do. So I get to put my design hat on and do more things like that, which I love. But then we got the program, which is this summer. So we'll get a bunch of kids up and inspire
the
them
creative
and
juju.
do all the fun stuff.
Yeah, love it,
Yeah,
love
it's
it.
good.
Well, thank you so much for taking the time to come today and chat with us. It was truly inspiring, and to also go through your career. And I've truly been inspired through this conversation, and also when I watched your documentary and listened to your TED Talk and the whole like planning for the sunny day, and inspired by how you think and how you've moved forward in your life and taken chances. So thank you so much, Jay. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, Zara.
And if you guys were inspired, make sure to get in touch. Thank you so much for watching.
Thank you.